Well, good afternoon. It's Jenny from Annie and Mara's, and I'm dialing in from country Victoria, Australia, for those that don't know me very well. So I heard that people would rather have a sew-along video, not just the instructions. I thought that I had made the instructions quite detailed. So first of all, I've printed off, I'm today doing a size 30F, so I've printed off pages 17 to 23. So when you open up the booklet, it tells you which pages to print. Make sure you print them at 100% of scale. And you can check that with using this grid at the top. And likewise, today I'm not going to go through fitting changes. We're just going to go through how to make the basic bra pattern, the base bra pattern. But the main thing is that you want to make this up in a very cheap fabric first to check your fit before you go on to using all the fancy laces and things. So I already know that I have this bra fitting me well, but in order to do that, I, at the moment, am a different size that I'm used to, so I've just added some extra to the back band and use the 30F rather than a different pattern I used to use because I'm a bit in transition at the moment. Just so before I start, just a little bit about needles and threads. My favourite would be the So Fine from Superior Threads, and I have a matching colour set up on this machine. And then I get those, in Australia, I get those from a lovely lady, Judy, a place called Punch with Judy, and sometimes lingerie suppliers also will send them. I got these ones sent with the Bra Builders kit. I also use, I always think it's worth paying extra to get the Schmetz needles. They're sharper, they just last longer, and I tend to use the Microtex throughout, the Microtex 70. If I'm using just silk, I'll use the 60, but the 70 I find will work well, except sometimes, and when we get up to the band elastic, sometimes I need to go up to the 80 for the band elastic, but we could chat about that when I get there. And as a ritual, I change my needle every 8 hours of sewing time because then it stops the needle blunting, which I've just done now. And the other thing is a ritual that I do probably every couple of days, just to be absolutely sure to look after my machine. I remove the needle plate and, oops, I remove the needle case and with a brush get rid of all of the fluff inside the bobbin case here. Oh, you can't. Inside the bobbin case. And all of the fluff in here. Now, don't blow it because all that happens if you blow in there is you just blow the fluff around. So you actually want to be cleaning out all of the fluff in there and actually getting it on the brush. And then I have got a bin under there. That's what I'm doing. I'm throwing it in a bin under there. And then putting that case back really makes a difference because otherwise, if you find that the thread's getting caught or anything like that, it's often because of that fluff under the needle plate. Forgot to say too that I don't always use those. Sometimes I've got Guzman Mara and also my faithful trusty stash of polyester Guzman, 100% polyester because then you've got the stretch, and I get them at my local kitchen supply place and they're cheaper as well. For cutting out the lace, the first thing we start with is the upper cup. And the lower point of lace, which is the lower point of that lace scallop, is going on this line here. And so the first thing I do is look at this center point of the bridge here. We want to look the most aesthetically pleasing. So I'm going to place that point right there because that's what we'll be seeing, the center of the bridge. I could have done that, but I think that the actual lace like that would look prettier at the center front. And that will be at the center cup, but that will be at the center front, which will show this. Well, it won't show this, but anyway, that's going to go there. Now I'm cutting around that edge. So now that I've cut that out, I'm going to place that back over the lace because I want to match this neckline edge of the power bar to the top of this upper cup here so that I can continue that lace edge across. To do that, I've repositioned that lace cup edge over the lace. Now you can see, as I might not have pointed out before, that I've got this at the lower point of lace, but that does mean that it's angled down and is sitting further back up from here. So then I'm going to place that power bar there, which is where the seam allowance is going to be, and having the upper power bar edge hitting the lace there, and then put our weights down, take away that other piece and cut that out. Now I've cut that out, you can see that when they're placed together, you've got this ripple line going across with all that lace, and this here will be sheer, but have the sheer cup lining behind it, which will be quite pretty. Next, I'm going to cut a mirror version of the other side, so by turning that upside down to cut an exact mirror for the other upper cup, and again continuing this line up right through to there when I'm cutting that. So now I have a mirror version of the upper cups. Next, I've laid the second upper cup piece back over the lace, matching the edges, placing that paper pattern piece over, and then the power bar piece mirror edged upside down to fit on there with its corresponding paper piece. And you can see I have to move that already. I haven't got that quite right. So that now I've got all of those correct, I can remove the paper pattern pieces, and I just have kept this one here to cut out the power bar. Now I will usually cut out all of the cut pieces and then the frame pieces, so I'm actually going to move on and do the other cut pieces now before I come back to the lace. Next, I want to cut out one pair each of the middle lower cup and the inner lower cup from silk, and I will usually cut those out individually because it's more accurate than cutting them out as a pair. Now you might notice that I haven't actually put the markings on those. This is the point of breast, and this is where that's where the center seam notch is. The reason I don't do that is if you cut in a notch in there, it's going to weaken your fabric, be it silk or satin. So I usually mark those later. An air dissolvable pen, but it'll dissolve by the time you're getting to do the sewing. So I keep them laid out for the moment on the bench in the position that they're going to be laid out later. Keep all of those laid out in a flat lay as I'm cutting out, so that later I have them all laid out in a separate part of the bench in a flat lay, so I can work out which piece goes where and have the sides correct. So next I'm cutting out a pair of the sheer cup lining for the lower cup pieces. Now I'm going to cut two of each, one to stabilize to back it on, and then another one for lining it. So that's a pair each for each lower and middle cup. What I was trying to say there, you need two pairs for one pair for each side for each cup. So in all, 4 sets for each inner and lower cup. Just be really, really careful when you're ironing the sheer cup lining. It's very easy to burn it. So make sure you test it on a piece of the sheer cut lining before you put the iron on. And also I never put the whole iron down for that reason. I always only carefully put the front down on one part at any one time. Also you'll need a pair of the, just one pair of the upper cup sheer cup lining, one pair of the power bar, and then I've got leftover for the frame and the bridge. Again, for cutting out the frame, for the bridge, you want to find a place on the frame that's aesthetically pleasing, like having this at the center and these at the sides, these bits at the side. This is actually why too I've left the bridge cut all in one piece, because it makes it easier than if you're cutting it on the fold to work out exactly where to put these pieces here and here so that they are exactly matching, because we need that is going to be where the seam is going to be. Before I cut that out, I also too just usually look to see that what's going to be coming up on this part here, which is where the bridge is, which is this center part here, which will look really great. You might notice too that this says that this is the degree of greatest stretch. That's mainly just because if later on you're using a woven fabric with a slight amount of stretch, you know where to place it. Then lay over the bridge back onto the lace and place the paper piece over the top, and then the side frame over the top. Remove those pieces, and that's how you know how to cut out the matching side frame. And you can see I've repeated that process for the other side. For the frame, you'll cut one pair, like one each, in the silk satin of the side frame and one of the bridge. Again, this is why we've got this dogs marked here, because there is a slight degree of stretch to this silk satin that I'm using. The other thing is, if you are using a silk, always be careful about the heat. Don't iron on the front, iron on the back, and don't use steam. Lastly, cut a pair of the sheer cup lining for the side frame, and then we're going to cut one for the bridge. And then the final piece to cut is the back band, where we're going to cut one pair with the degree of the greatest stretch on the degree of greatest stretch of the power net. So now I've laid those out in a flat lay, so I know I've got all of the pieces and they're all on the right sides and matching. And now comes my favourite part of the whole bra, which is where I'm going to hand baste some of these linings together. Now I love hand basting, so that's just something I enjoy doing as a process. You may prefer to machine based. If you are going to machine based, I would use a very fine zigzag, one long, two wide around the edges. But what I'm going to do is baste, hand baste, one of the sheer cup lining to each of the inner inner, lower and middle cup pieces, one of the sheer cup lining to the, oh no, sorry, that's all I'm going to do for now for the cups. And for the frame, I will do the same, just to baste the not the sheer cup lining, but the silk satin. I baste to the back of the lace for the bridge and the side frame, but keeping it free just at the bottom edge about 1 inch up from the bottom edge, and I'll explain that when I get there. Okay, and this is my favourite bit, which is going to take some time because I love just sitting down and playing with that, listening to some music or a lovely book or a podcast.